I've attempted to summarize one of tech's biggest books into 13 lean takeaways. Chances are when you hear startup jargon, Eric Ries jargoned it up. I reread every inch of this book.
Hypothesis is correct, or do we need to make a major change? That change is called a pivot.
And I listened to a bunch of his recent interviews to take it all in. But I've been thinking about this book since the first time that I read it, more than 10 years ago. And I want to help you avoid, actually, let me show you the exact line. I highlighted this and it made me cry the first time I read it. You want to avoid tiny errors and assumptions that can lead to catastrophic outcomes. 1. The lean startup is not about startups. It's really not. Ries loosely defines startups and entrepreneurs as pretty much anyone innovating under extreme conditions of uncertainty. Most startups fail, but they also fail when big companies buy them. Big companies are failing faster than ever. Extreme conditions of uncertainty are everywhere. So startups and entrepreneurs are everywhere too. This book is for anyone innovating in any size company who wants to find out why. 2. 5 Whys. All of the lean startups lessons can be derived from Toyota's 5 Whys. Why'd you get into this, Eric?
I got into this because of Toyota.
When tech went into cars in the 80s, cars were unreliable. But Toyota innovated with extreme levels of certainty by asking 5 whys to get to the truth. The problem with asking why is 3. Everyone lies.
Contrary to what you see in the movies, most startup founders of successful companies had ludicrously bad ideas at the beginning.
Most founders' stories are straight up lies. Customers lie about what they want, and all optimists lie. People will download my product and word will spread like wildfire. Wait, have you tested those value and growth hypotheses? No, it's obvious. Well, you're lying to yourself if you don't test those leap of faith assumptions with 4. Science. Wait, Eric, is this a blueprint?
Guys, no. I wrote extensively in the book, did you read? It's a scientific theory, which means that whatever works is lean startup.
People tend to think of the lean startup as a blueprint for tiny startups, but it succeeded with GE and tons of wildly different companies, and will do so indefinitely because it is not a blueprint. It's just saying that we need to use science to seek truth and eliminate any waste that doesn't validate your 5 leap of faith assumptions.
But this is the thought that literally made me sick to my stomach. I said, wait a minute, what if we had just created a single web page and had a big download button? Would we even have had to create the second page where we admit that we didn't build the product, or would a 404 have been adequate? Come on, it's the 404, obviously, because nobody would download the product. It was a deal breaker, nobody wanted it. That meant that we didn't even need page 2.
I cried here reading the book 10 years ago. You give your life to build a product based on an idea, a leap of faith assumption. And right here, it's a gut punch realization to think that one sales page could have told me that nobody wanted my product. But I warn you, I consult with a lot of companies. This happens to nearly everyone who doesn't build 6. A minimum viable product. Ries first shipped a low quality MVP of IMVU where his avatars couldn't walk. So they teleported around, but people loved it and still teleport around in his successful metaverse today. The lesson? You don't know who your customer is, so you don't know what quality is. Quality is teleportation. But what's in an MVP?
Only what is necessary to learn whether our plan is correct or not. Everything else is extraneous.
Okay, my name's Drew, and we'll be taking a quick tour of Dropbox, which is a better way of keeping your important stuff synchronized across your PCs.
It could be just a video like Dropbox, or faking a shoe store and then paying full price at Foot Locker when a customer is wild enough to order shoes online in 1999. There's a long list of MVP types that are growing by the day. Creators might just post a tweet or blog idea to learn what idea will change the world. But not all MVPs are quick.
It's fascinating. I mean, I'm joking about having worked on jet engines and robotics and cancer therapies and all kinds. I've worked on stuff anyway, and LTSE. I mean, it took us 10 years to build the MVP for LTSE. So like, it doesn't necessarily mean cheap, low quality. Like, it's just whatever your hypothesis is, whatever you actually believe is going to work. Let's put that thing to the test.
7. Validated learning. Learning is an excuse that happens after you really up. Validated learning starts before you waste all your resources and feel sick to your stomach. It's backed up by empirical data from real customers, not forecasts or hypotheticals like, would you maybe buy this? No. Did someone pre-order my product? Because everything a startup does is to achieve validated learning through experimentation. And This is how we do it. 8. The build, measure, learn feedback loop. Your startup will die if you waste all your resources on an idea, a leap of faith assumption, just to learn that nobody wants to buy your product. So your only goal, and the MVP goal, is to get through this loop on a sustainable basis faster. Now, this is not a substitution for the book. There's a lot here, and I also highly recommend that you listen to Eric's talks that I'm going to link to. How many times you can get through this loop determines your startup's fate. I don't need science. My idea is solid, and Steve Jobs didn't need this either.
It's like, well, first of all, do you have the years and decades of failures and experience that from which that taste derives? Okay. If you do, then I'm like, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. And if you don't, then like definitely don't rely on that. Definitely do some experimentation. Go get those scars. But even if you have the taste, like if you're completely right, what can it hurt to double check?
And you double check with 9, innovation accounting. Accounting like who's accountable. Toyota calls this person a shusa, someone who has absolute accountability for a vehicle that crosses departments. This maintains a small, nimble division where there's accountability for everything in the car. But when you don't know who your customer is, you don't know what your product is, so we need accountability of the process of innovation itself. Innovation accounting happens in 3 milestones. The first is to establish a baseline, which we talked about with the MVP. Your MVP is that baseline data, and you'll never know the direction of success if you don't know where you're starting. We'll talk about growth engines and pivots soon, but you need to first understand 10 metrics that matter. They're actionable, accessible, and auditable. Gross metrics like total customers or revenue are vanity metrics. They're gross. Totally misleading. You want to find actionable metrics that move you towards sustainable growth, like profit per beautiful, lucid car sold, which is currently negative $228,000 per car sold. That's a more specific metric to move. Actionable metrics are specific, like when Gibson Biddle said, let's increase the percent of members who stream 15 minutes of video per month, instead of, let's make a multi-billion-dollar industry and kill Blockbuster. The metrics must be accessible so that the entire company can focus on them. And auditable, meaning they are backed by reality, what customers are actually doing and saying. Duolingo and Netflix had gigantic successes if you want to see a deep dive on examples of metrics that matter. Eric Ries made A/B testing so popular that you already know how important it is. Even this YouTube video is split testing thumbnails to help me know if I should. 11. Pivot or persevere. Subscribe and I'll persevere. A lot of companies you know started off as completely different companies. Eric's Metaverse started out as just an avatar add-on for IMs, kind of like how the iPhone has avatars now. There's a whole catalog of different types of pivots, but the point is to ask, are we making sufficient progress to believe that our original strategic hypothesis is correct, or do we need to make a major change? The entire goal of a startup is to get through the build, measure, learn feedback loop. That is to learn if you should pivot. But that's hard because it's admitting that you were wrong about your entire life's work.
Yeah, it's a horrible feeling. And the longer it's been since the last pivot, the worse it gets. And the more success you've had, collectively as a group, the worse it is. The hardest part with a pivot is simply getting everyone in the same room to agree to the same set of facts about whether the strategy is currently working or not.
So Eric recommends that you schedule the pivot or persevere meeting from the start with goals that are understood. This works great. It makes the battle over metrics. I've also seen unplanned pivot meetings with no success metrics defined, and it usually turns into a battle over egos. 12. Small batch. Toyota uses a small batch concept to build cars. It costs more initially to get a few cars through the assembly line and perfect manufacturing along the way, but the end result is a more reliable car with less wasted parts. This is a difficult concept to grasp because waste in a startup is not physical waste piling up in a warehouse. It's all the waste that doesn't lead to learning. Well, unless you're Shein. When you hear fast fashion, you might think of H&M or Forever 21. Shein sells more than almost everyone else combined. It's the small batch model on steroids. Shein produces fast fashion in super small batches, and when users so much as hover over a design, Shein has already completed the build, measure, learn feedback loop and is in the process of creating new designs for a micro trend that you didn't even know has started. Those are actionable metrics.
And while it's fast at creating new designs, it's also quick to go through them. A Boston Consulting Group report found that Shein has an inventory turnover rate of 40 days. That same report found that Shein is twice as fast as other competitor retailers like H&M and Zara.
The small batch model is a matter of controlling the cost and controlling the inventory wastage so that they won't have a large number of clothes that are sitting unsold in their warehouses in China or in the US or anywhere else in the world.
They have dominated the market by producing less physical and learning waste than the competition. 13. 3 engines of growth. The engines of growth fuel sustainable growth, and they need to be super clear so that everybody in the company knows how to tune them. The sticky, icky engine of growth is good if you want to have customers stick around, like a subscription model. Those companies must focus on metrics that affect churn rate, anything that causes people to leave faster than they come in. The viral engine of growth happens when you have a viral coefficient of greater than 1. That means if you have one customer, they will convince one more customer to join, like a pyramid scheme or TikTok. Because one user creates a snowball effect of more users, these companies focus on reducing sign-up friction. The paid engine of growth simply means that the lifetime value of your customer is worth more than the cost per acquisition of that customer. If you spend $1 on advertising and you get a customer that's worth more than $1, well, that model can snowball too. The point is to know exactly what's fueling your engine so you can tune it like Jorge Mazal did to create the greatest growth that any educational startup has seen. And you can watch that next. You got this.